want to speak, please use the hand action on your Zoom. And voting will be physically by raising your hand if we are to make a decision. Do we have any conflicts of interest? There are none. And there are no apologies. And there's also no public forum today. And we have no late items.
Oh, sorry, Chair, there was an apology.
From?
Graham McClymont puts his apology in.
Okay, thank you. I'll move the apology as received. Do I have a seconder? Lynn Patterson seconds Graham McClymont's apology. Thank you for that. So we'll move on to the first item of the agenda on page 311, which is the infrastructure and service amendments to the Wairarapa Consolidated Bylaw. And David, would you like to speak to this? Or Narissa?
Narissa was planning to do that, yep.
Narissa, I invite you to comment on the report. Can't hear you. You're on mute, Narissa.
Aroha mai. Kia ora tātou. The purpose of this report is asking the Infrastructure and Services Committee to adopt a further temporary amendment to our traffic bylaw schedule. So back in May of last year, I think, we developed a schedule Q to our traffic bylaw schedule, which allowed for temporary parking at the departmental building car park to be used by clients of the Wairarapa DHB for the COVID-19 vaccination clinic. They've been in touch with us to inform that they have extended their lease until the end of June and have therefore come back to council asking if we can further amend the time frame from the end of March through to the 30th of June.
Okay, is there any questions of Narissa? No questions?
I'm happy to move.
Okay, we've got moved by Councillor Nixon. Do we have a seconder? Her Worship, Mayor Patterson. All those in favour, please raise your right hand. Against? The motion is passed. Recommendation is approved. Thank you, Narissa. Now we move on to page 314. This is the Regulatory Services Infrastructure and Services Update. I'll hand over to Steve May. Steve is going to comment on the report.
Good afternoon. Just through the chair, I'll take the report as read and we'll be able to answer any questions the chair or the councillors may have.
Thank you, Steve. Do we have any questions? It was a pretty comprehensive report, lots of detail in it. Councillor Mailman, and you're on, you need to unmute.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Steve, I was just wondering, in that paper, our future resource management system, is there any definition of region? Are we linked in as a Wellington region, or are we separate as Wairarapa?
Steve?
Through the chair, I think in regards to the reference to region, it is looking at the Wairarapa, but with the RMA Act being reviewed by the government, and obviously with local government amalgamations, that term region may take a life of its own.
Yeah, thanks, Steve.
Do we have any other questions? No? Oh, Your Worship?
I just want to get clarity on that. Sorry, Steve, I may not have understood that. I thought the future resource management system is based on regional, which currently is our Greater Wellington Regional Council boundaries. Would be my understanding. For now, regardless of what may happen for the future of local government.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, I take your point. yeah, concede.
Thank you, Steve. Tiro.
Thank you. Thank you for this report. I'm just questioning, you make mention around the capacity. How are we tracking for that? Because you're a bit swamped, I kind of figured. So what's happening and operationally for us, for you?
Through the chair, firstly, I'd like to congratulate the staff for doing a sterling job, and they have been under pressure. And we have currently just got a new advert out for another building control officer. We've maintained 6 staff, or the staffing levels have been maintained through the last year, but there was still churn underneath that, and that was with people leaving and new people starting. So certainly with the introduction of this new person for the BCO will take up some of that strain that the BCA is currently under.
Thank you. I was a bit concerned about and what timeframes are being utilised to, help you with that, with the staffing level, given that the building consents are just going to rise, they're trending up and up.
Luckily, we do have contractors that we can lean on and are leaning on to help us with the peaks. I'm very pleased to say the advert for the BCO is out in its current, and we have a couple of applicants already in the pipeline. So that's the best I can provide an answer to you today.
Thank you.
Councillor Nixon.
Yes, Steve, just a question around growth projections and the amount of consents that subdivision consents are massive. I think I totaled up, there's like 2,000 sections that have been that are on the drawing board in the last 3 or 4 years. So are the population projections and matching with the amount of subdivisions and lots that we've got? Or are they exceeding what we were anticipating for growth?
Thank you, Councillor. Great question. I haven't actually referenced or put those two figures together, but what I can say is a lot of the subdivisions are certainly slowed down in regards to building because of COVID and the supply of materials. That's given us a bit of a breather, but certainly the potential there is for all that work to start at once, in say half a year's time.
Councillor Holmes.
Yeah, I've got a question for Steve here with the Packy Road potential subdevelopment block. Is that the Ardsley? Is that referred to as the Ardsley block? I've had a lot of people asking me questions lately. Is that the one that it's the Ardsley block?
I'll have to research that and get back to you, Councillor.
Fine, that's fine, Steve. Thank you.
Are there any more questions of Steve? Your worship?
Just one, and I apologise if it is in the report and I've missed it. So are we looking to put a response back by the end of this month to the material that has been attached here, transforming Aotearoa and New Zealand's resource management system, or are we looking to do that regionally or across the Wairarapa or across the Wellington? I think we do need to provide some feedback and possibly a workshop around it so that all councillors are familiar with what the impacts of this may be. And the other one was just to really give a, through the chair, on behalf of council, if I can just pass on the congratulations to Steve, to the team, Terry's team, with only 5 no corrective actions on the recognised agency renewal. So well done to staff.
Thank you, Your Worship. On your first point, yes, I'm talking initially to our fellow councils in regards to a response, and I'll be able to update you once we've made a decision. And yes, thanks for your praise of the staff. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Do we have any more questions? Councillor Nelson.
Thanks, Chair. Just on, this is probably for David, on page 314, just around the the recruitment of the new building control officers and how we are looking at actively recruiting, and there's a really tight market. But the next paragraph down sort of mentions the industry's cooling, and with the cooling industry, the rising of interest rates, will there still be the need to employ those extra building safety officers or building control officers if the market's slowing down?
Yeah, well, while we're saying it's slowing down, we've still got quite a lot of buildings in train. Certainly in the short term, we're going to have quite a big workload. Long term, potentially, I don't know, in another 2 years, we'll just have to monitor that situation. But certainly what we've seen in front of us in the subdivisions and building, we've got in train, we're going to be busy for another 12 months at least.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll move the recommendation in the report. Do I have a seconder for the motion? Tito, thank you. All those in favour, please raise your right hand. Against? The motion is carried. Thank you. We move on to page 379, which is the Community Facilities and Activities Infrastructure Update. I'll call on Corin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So through the chair, I'll take the report as read. Just a couple of pieces I'll draw to attention. We've, as you'll see, we've completed the heat pump installations, and that's just pleasing in terms of our process of making sure that we're compliant with legislation when it comes in 2024 around the properties that we rent out. Also, just to note that we, following on from our discussions with Friends of the Park before Christmas, we will start now to begin our conversation with them around an agreed drop of the water in the Lake of Remembrance at a targeted time, so we can do some weed reduction, which will probably be late autumn or early winter, but just so people have got an understanding that we will be doing that. And then finally, just to note, obviously we've gone through a bit of a period with COVID, and we've had to make some alterations to events, but I think we've had some really pleasing stuff. I think the Christmas the lights were really well received, and our reaction to not being able to do the parade and doing the sleigh-in went down really well with the community. And lastly, in that space, obviously we've just recently cancelled Y-Fest, but that's given us a really interesting opportunity to start to think about Matariki for this year and the first year of a public holiday, and how we might do something for that maybe we wouldn't have done if Y-Fest had gone ahead and we had done that event and spent that money in that way. And I'll open up for any questions.
Are there any questions of Corin? Councillor Peterson?
Yeah, Corin, just you've got a reference to digital seniors there, and just I mean, there's also SeniorNet. They deliver in a different way, but they never sort of seem to get a mention or support.
That's a good point, Chris. And I mean, obviously we've got the stuff that happens in the positive aging space. I think we've also, there's the conversations that happen through the library, and that's a piece we can follow up in there, because we have those different types of engagement there. And I guess the other point there is, now that we've got a fully staffed community development team, I think we've also got some ability to push in different directions. But you're absolutely right. There's more than one horse in the town, I guess, and we need to make sure that we are working through that. And I'll take that also that comment back to Lisa in terms of how we're thinking in terms of the positive aging strategy.
Oh, good. Thanks, Corin.
Councillor Nelson?
Thanks, Chair. For Corin again. Corin, a couple of meetings ago around the positive aging strategy, I mentioned it's a gold standard report, the Bluestones report on positive aging. I'm wondering if anyone's followed up on that or looked at that, because I think you'll find, and at the risk of crossing the difference between governance and management, I feel that it would be a really useful strategy to look at for positive aging in 5 areas in the world where things work incredibly well. And I think the person who's now doing 4 days a week would find some invaluable information in there as to how we can further enhance our own community in that particular area. It's called the Blue Zones Positive Aging Strategy.
Blue Zones, cool. Yeah, apologies. I'm not sure if that has been followed up on, but I will follow up with Lisa and make sure that's looked at from, especially from looking at from the Masterton perspective.
Thank you, Corinne.
Thanks, Tim.
I just got one other thing. In regards to events, what was the actual last event that Masterton District Council had?
Well, I would say, Tero, that the last event we had was the Slay-in, where we took the Santa and the sleigh around the kura in the schools. So that was our reaction to that. I know, like at the heart of your question, I guess
You know what I'm saying.
Yeah, indeed. It's a challenging time to be planning and putting on events, and we always have to pass that safety lens across it, and also when we're looking at committing to expenditure, that we aren't going to get so far down and then have to pull anyway. So it has been a disappointing period, and I know we want to get back on this track, and we will. But yeah, it unfortunately, these ones that we've been through, like, we've had to make those calls. But I'm really hopeful for Matariki. We'll see what happens with Red and what happens with Omicron, but I do think we've got a really cool opportunity with that this year, especially with what's happened.
Because one of the things about Matariki, I think, also needs to be addressed is that it's not just one day. There should be sort of like an implementation program going out there around what that is. It's a course of a series of a couple of weeks or, months. So I think, Tia and the team probably would be invaluable in feeding into that kind of perspective. But I'd be really keen to see us comms that out to people around what it is, what Matariki is. And even though we've got that one day, it's a bit like Waitangi Day, there should be some sort of lead up or information shared out or comes out to our people.
Kia ora. I completely agree, and so Tia and I have had some preliminary discussions about what that might look like, and very much they are taking the shape of a series of information type things. So this is about actually people understanding Matariki and what it is, it not being just one day, understanding why it is important and taking part in some of the things around that. So that's very early stages of discussion, but that's where the discussion has started with Tia and thinking about working with iwi and how we might actually do that.
I'm actually just even thinking from an educational point of view, because Matariki could be utilised as a way for people to look at food. This is a way that this would be a harvest, this would be a celebration of this, and how we encourage our communities to grow their own kai, or have the ability to do that and be a little bit more independent of always the welfare side of things. This is something that they can do as whānau together, or family or community together. So that's just part of that aspect.
Yeah, that's cool, and that's exactly where Tia's been going. Actually, we had quite a detailed conversation about food and how that might play a part. So cool.
Councillor Nelson.
Oh, that was a clap. I was clapping for Tilao's comment.
Councillor Ryan.
To Corin, there's nothing in the walking and cycling report about any movement on the bridge at the end of Oxford Street. And we have a WeTag meeting tomorrow.
That's a very good point, Councillor. Apologies for that. I'll find out very quickly what I can for you ahead of that.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions of Corin's report? No, I'll move the motion, which is the recommendation in the officer's report. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Peterson, thank you. All those in favour, please raise your right hand. Against? The motion is carried. Now we'll move on to page 387, which is the infrastructure update. And I'll call on David Hopman to present any highlights or anything that he wants to cover.
Yeah, I'll take the report as read. There's a few things I wanted to highlight though. Our reseals, long standing issues there we've had with our repairs from last year. That's underway. We've got a 6-week program set aside to get those done, and also the new ones. It has been a real challenge with resourcing in that space to get those done in a timely fashion. We've got the Colombo Road bridge renewal that's out in the market at the moment, where tenders close the end of the week. Very keen on getting that work underway as soon as possible. It's highlighted there as in the orange is around the pricing and delivery. That will be subject to what the tenders we get. There is a slight dip in that bridge now. It has moved, but it is stable. We are currently monitoring that bridge in case something does happen. So just to minimise any risk with that bridge, but it is safe to use with the monitoring we're doing. Other points, our water meter program continues to roll out. We're 90% or so, almost 90% there. We have taken the foot off the accelerator a little bit there, mainly because of resourcing constraints. We've been trying to make sure that the resources can be dedicated to the 3 water renewal projects that we've got government funding for, make sure we can deliver on those. But we are looking at completing those meters, so everyone will have one by the end of this financial year. So we've got a few months to finish that. And that was about it. We've got Held Aerodrome is progressing. I've got actually Martin online here. He might want to just give a little bit of a summary, a little bit more detail than the report's got. Martin, are you available?
Yes, certainly am. Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for everyone for having me here. The update on the Hood Aerodrome at the moment, we are progressing with the land acquisitions for the diversion of Manaia Road and the extension of the runway. The TPG are talking to the landowners. There's been a lot of discussion around one of the particular landowners at the present point in time because they've found a property that's for sale. So we've been trying to support them as best we can to try and get some sort of an agreement so that they can progress with the purchasing of future property for themselves. We've provided documentation for their banks to say that we are going through the land acquisition so that they can get the funding to help them through. The planning works, I'm talking to 3 different companies at the present point of times. We have to carry out an ecological study of the area that we want to divert Manaia Road around because there are some requirements under the GW. So we're just working through the procurement of the planners at the present point of time. We're trying to understand what the full scope of the work is right up to resource consent. Moncrief Drive, that's going to be starting resealing this month, and we'll be crossing over into the March before it's completed. They reckon it will take about a month to do all the work out there. The refueling area, BP have come to the party and are going to provide some concrete pads, and they're also going to put interceptors and stuff like that to make it a little bit safer for any spills and stuff like that in the area. And then council's going to provide some resowing to get rid of all that lime, which has been a bit of a hazard as helicopters come in and land. We've identified 6 new hangar sites. We've had them pegged out and surveyed. They will be going to market in the very near future. We don't have an exact time frame for them yet, but I'm working with the lease people to how they will go out to the market. We are currently seeking external advice for some of the work on the aerodrome because it's beyond our understanding as staff, especially around the lengthening and widening of the runway and all the requirements under CAA. We have yesterday confirmed a company called Mike Haynes Aviation, who's reviewing the documents to help us to understand all the requirements for that field. We are looking at splitting the runway into either design build or design and construct. We still haven't decided the design and construct, whether we can get it all as design build or whether we have to go to design first and then construct later. If we can secure a contractor that has the capabilities to design and build, it would be a lot less work for us. And yes, that would certainly take a lot of the strain off that we're feeling at the present point of time, trying to get work to go forward. The services are probably 80% designed for the expansion across to the precinct development. And we have seen the first cut of it, and Becca are busy carrying on with that design, and we should have those documents with us within the next month or so. That's about the major part of what's going on out there at the present point of time.
Martin, what about the aeronautical study?
Oh, the aeronautical study, that is with CAA at the present point of time. That was submitted on the 24th of December. And they have come back and said that they are going to do their own consultation, which is a little bit unusual, but we'll see what that brings out. I've asked for all the names of the participants that were involved with the aeronautical study, and we've sent out emails to them to see if they are happy for us to pass their details on.
Thank you. We've got some questions. Are you happy to take them now?
Yes, certainly.
Councillor Peterson?
Yeah, just noticed under the animal shelter that...
Chris, do you have a question about Hood Aerodrome?
No, not about Hood Aerodrome, no. I thought we'd gone on, yeah.
Okay, you happy to wait, Martin, and we'll just do the questions as they come up? Okay, Chris, go.
I've got one on the aerodrome.
Okay, David.
You're right, Rebecca?
Yeah.
Look, there's 2 things that I'm concerned about. Other potential purchase that we looked at, is that still moving ahead? And the other one is that we've missed out on a wonderful opportunity for the gliding championships here at Hood, and they've ended up going down to Greytown. Now, David, I need your advice on this, or your thoughts. I'm told they moved simply because of the cost of insurance. Can you just explain what that was? Do you know, David Hopman?
No, sorry, I'm not over that issue with regard to the reason for them not using the facility. So I can follow that up and get some information.
Yeah, well, it's just, I think we've got a gem here, and this is a wonderful opportunity that I think we in Masterton have missed out on. Like, there's a number of gliders going down to Greytown, and I asked a committee member from Greytown why they got it and we didn't. And the simple statement was the insurance was too high for Masterton. So I just want to know why. Is it because it's housing, or I don't know, but could we find out, because we can't afford to lose opportunities like this.
Corin, do you have any information?
I was just scrabbling in my email to have a look. So I do recall some of the conversation with David. So it was about the fact that establishing a process that when you've got certain tournaments and things on, there is a risk that goes with that, and ensuring that clubs or organisations are adequately prepared for that risk. But I would need to go back through to get more detail. But that's the essence of the conversation. Yeah, but we can come back with more detail.
You know, I just think for future years, there's nothing bigger than the wings over the Wairarapa, but that still went ahead. But it's food for thought.
Yeah.
Thank you, David. Go back to you, Chris. You had a question on the animal shelter.
Yeah, you just noticed in the animal shelter, it said that there's been a new concept has been agreed that sees the building only providing dog shelter. I realise now we're looking at accommodating other animals in the paddocks down the back, wasn't it? I guess it's outside the building. Yeah.
Yeah. So that we will still be accommodating other animals using the paddocks. It's just where we've ended up is we've had to reduce the scope of that project, taking some things out to be able to meet the budget. So we've got a concept together. I might is Stephen, you might be able to share a bit more.
Thanks, David. So we have, as David has stated, we have looked at the function of the animal shelter and just removed some of the sort of nice to haves in regards to meeting the public, etc. So we're still going to have a reduced meeting the public role there, but mainly just focusing on getting the quote in for a fully functional and legally compliant shelter for the district.
Yeah.
That answer your question, Chris?
Well, yeah, sort of. I mean, what range of animals would have been excluded now from the building?
We're proposing to have a workshop with the council once we've finalised all the details of how we're going to deliver that. That's probably going to be scheduled in March. Can I answer that question then? Because I haven't got that answer right here.
No, that's fine.
We're going to talk through exactly what is proposed in the animal shelter and how it's going to work, and we'll have more details in March for the council.
That's fine, David.
Thank you, Chris. Councillor Ryan, and then to Councillor Nelson.
Thank you. You did hear me ask earlier, Corin, about the Waipio Bridge, and I was in relation to the cycle track. But in the infrastructure report on page 397, it does refer to the construction of the bridge, but it says at 451,000. Now, if my memory serves me right, and I couldn't be wrong, it started at 350 and then it went to 380. Why the big increase, or was I just wrong with the numbers in the first place?
Martin might be able to advise. I think there was additional money associated with the track and the approaches, and that's been added to that was to the total project. So the build is happening there.
Can I answer that one? The original discussions with GW, we ended up by having to raise the bridge another 1,600 millimetres, which added extra dollars onto it, which means we had to put additional ramps up to the bridge and tracks with retaining and all the rest of it. So the budget had to go up, and that was a requirement under the GW resource consent.
I know when it was raised, it went from 350 to 380. So it's now the ramps and some other issues that have increased the budget again, is what you're saying.
Yes, just for the ramps alone, you're looking around about over 90K.
Councillor Nelson.
Thank you, Chair. Just for Martin, going back to the Hood Aerodrome, just to clarify a couple of things, the budget is $17 million. Can you just confirm again for me how much of that was from the Shovel Ready Projects Fund? So
$10 million came from the PDU.
Okay, thank you. So that's 17 million. So I'm assuming the project's not expected to go over $17 million. Am I correct with that? Seeing as that's the budget amount.
That's the budget we're working to.
Okay, and just regarding the information that you're seeking around the lengthening and width and the widening of the runway, is there a chance that that information that we're going to seek, that we're seeking, is going to state that it doesn't need to be lengthened? Is that the sort of things that report's looking at? And if so,
sorry.
So what's that looking at specifically?
It's looking at the CAA requirements for the design.
And what, in terms of design for what? Length, width, what it looks like?
And the width, yes.
So,
'Cause,
so
when
you're saying,
sorry, when you're designing a runway, there's a whole lot of legislation stuff that's covered under CAA. So that includes runway and safety areas. That's lighting. There's what they call PAL, which is pilot activated lighting systems. There's a whole raft of things that have to be taken into account. And unfortunately, I don't have the expertise, so we have to look at external resources to do that side of things.
so you're saying it does potentially include length of runway,
Yes.
or are you going to say it specifically does not include length of runway?
It's about the design of the runway, and the part of the runway under the master plan is for the length and the width.
So that report, just to be clear with me, it could cover the length of the runway.
Yes.
So
There's
why
no-
are we going
there's
ahead
not a
with the
report,
property?
it's a design standards.
Yeah, why are we going ahead with the property purchase now if that report's looking at the length of the runway? Because surely if it's looking at the length of the runway, the report might come back saying that the runway doesn't need to be lengthened.
No, the report.
Could I just say that what we're engaging technical support on is the technical specifications for lengthening and widening the runway. That includes the lighting and all the strengthening and layout of the runway. That has a lot of legislation and rules around it. It's not. It's assuming we are. Well, we've adopted the two-phase approach of first of all widening the runway and then lengthening it. This is a report providing specifications on the technical details to actually do that. So I hope that answers your question. It's not about whether we're doing it or not. It's about what's required to actually do a widening and then a lengthening.
Thank you.
Councillor Mailman? Oh, you changed your mind? Okay. Councillor Holmes? You're on mute, Fraser.
I've just got a question about Henley Lake, David Hopman. I see that we're up for the consent. We're working on the consent renewal. Now, I go around every day and I spoke with the guy that was doing the testing of the water on Monday morning. And it seems to me that everybody seems to think we've got the dreaded lurgy in the lake with the algae bloom, when in actual fact it's not. And I was there last night, and there is weed in the lake, but the weed in the lake is actually quite a productive weed. So I think there's a lot of scare tactics out there at the moment with Henley Lake, and it disappoints me because, you know, the last night there were literally hundreds of people walking around it, enjoying it, but the perception with a lot of people is that it's full of algae bloom when it's not. Can you just answer that for me, please?
Well, it's not full of algae bloom, but
there's none there at all.
Well, Corin, you're looking after that.
Corin will answer. He was there last night.
Yeah.
So I'll confess, off the bat, I don't know what I'm looking for, but I'm looking for algal bloom. So the last advice I've got is that algal bloom was detected there, but we can certainly check on that, councillor. But we obviously want to make sure that there is none there before we drop that. But I'd need to come back and check that.
Yeah, I think from memory, Tom Wood told me last night that he felt that they may restrict us from today or tomorrow, to be quite honest. So what I'm really saying, the bloom's not a problem yet, but it will be in a few days if this heat continues.
But in saying that, we need to make sure that the information we're giving out is accurate. So
absolutely. Yep.
All right, Corin, if you could look into that. And you had your hand up as well, Corin. Was there something else?
I was just to follow on the earlier question from Councillor Holmes, the detail around the insurance. Our insurance brokers advised us on terms of what we're covered for and not. So we are covered around legal representation for CAA and investigations, but we're not covered for damage to lighting and facilities and things like that. So we were advised by our insurance broker that it would be advisable for us to ask somebody wanting to put on an event or do something like that to have some cover for things like bodily injury in excess of ACC and loss and damage of property to others. So that's what led to that decision to put that into the conversation with the Guiding Club.
Thanks, Corin. Tim, you had another question?
Yeah, so just a couple. Just in regards to that report on page 387 and 88 regarding the zero waste education program in school, I just want to reiterate what that report says about the feedback, because it specifically mentions Lakeview School, of how fantastic the program is, but the program's made especially fantastic and of higher quality because of the delivery of Tammy. She was incredibly well received by several staff members at our school. So that's a bouquet for Tammy, and thanks to that for that program being provided. And just in regards on page 394 regarding the Civic Centre, and there's a comment under program progress regarding land acquisition process progressing. Can someone explain what progressing means? Because I understand that the trust, it was widely reported, has rejected an offer. So was a further offer going in?
Again, there is ongoing negotiations around some of the conditions. So yes, we are still exploring the option of purchasing some land from the trust. That's still underway.
And will that continue to be the option if a further one, if there's requirements for further discussion, or will they come back again and say not satisfactory?
We are hopeful we'll be able to reach an agreement regarding the purchase of the land. But as you know, there are other options available to us. But certainly our intention is to secure the land and reach an agreement with the trust that we can both live with.
And that will work within that budget of 30.8 million and the contingency.
That's what we've been tasked to do, yes.
Thank you.
Your Worship, and then I'll go to Councillor Peterson.
Thank you. I just had a quick question on, I just had a quick question about the zero waste the education program. I was just curious to see is that through Enviro Schools, or is that through our regional zero waste advisor, Joe? So I was just wondering about the funding for that program.
Yeah, so that's through our regional shared service for waste minimisation. Enviro Schools is on top of that. They certainly work closely together with Enviro Schools, but it's on top of.
Thank you.
I'll go to Councillor Peterson and then Councillor Caffell. Chris? Can't hear you, Chris. You're on mute. Still on mute.
Sorry about that. Just on page 391, the Opaki water race. From what I remember from the discussions last year, what was going to happen, or what might happen with the Opaki water race was quite dependent on the developments of the Wakamokau. Now that decision is suspended, does that make any dramatic changes to what they're going to do there, or what options they've got?
The decision to close the race wasn't linked to the Wakamokau. It was certainly a Wakamokau was an option that was put forward at the time. There were other options. So really that's where we are now with that closure. We've got a few, we're still committed to a 5-year program. There are other options for water, which we're going to have to explore with the Water Race Committee. That's around storage, potentially using Opaki water supply, and potentially our other methods of stored water and then irrigation. So while certainly the Wakamokau would have been a nice solution for the water supply in that area, there are other options. We've just got to work through them with the landowners, the water race users.
And I understand they've got 7 years or something to do.
No, 5 years.
5 years, is it? Yeah. Thanks, David.
Four more summers, 5 more summers, 4 more summers.
Thank you. Councillor Caffell, you're on mute. That's it.
Thank you, Madam Chair. David, just a quick one on the Colombo Road Bridge. You mentioned that there's a slight dip in it. I've had a number of messages over the last few weeks about this slight dip, and it's making people a little bit nervous. And I'm just wondering, I know that you've said it's stable and it's fine, and I'm sure that it is, but there are a number of people out there who are taking a bit of convincing when you tell them that. Can you just explain briefly what's creating the slight dip?
I've got Kane online. You may be our technical expert on bridges.
Kane?
Kane, can you...
Kane, you're on mute. We can't hear you, I'm sorry. No.
Oh, hell.
Can you hear me now?
Up to you, David.
No, Kane, are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
That's it. Yes, we can hear you now.
Yeah, sorry, I had to unplug my headphones. They don't work on mute. Sorry. Yeah, the bridge slump is to do with river degradation, and the pile's not been embedded in the river enough. So if you go down there, you can actually see the pile caps, which is the steel bits they use to drive the piles in. They're sticking out of the water. So the bridge is slumped because of that. It's been on our repair list for quite a while, and we're just having tenders closed this Friday, I think, for the replacement of the bridge. So once I get the tenders in, I'll be able to see if we've got anyone to construct a new bridge. Now, in the meantime, we've got a monitoring system on the bridge. It's been installed by WSP Opus. It measures tilt and slump with digital probes. Via telemetry, it sends data back to us, and we can monitor the actual slump and tilt of the bridge. So if it triggers anything abnormal, we're going to be immediately closing it.
Thanks, Kane. Did that help, Gary? Another question?
I'm just wondering, Kane, if you could tell me if the worst case scenario arrived and the slump become to the point where it wasn't possible for people to use that bridge, we sort of got a plan B?
Yeah, so there's 2 bridges there side by side, Gary. So there's a new one on the other side that's completely fine. So what we'd do is we'd install a one-way system over the new bridge or the relatively newer bridge next to it, either using traffic lights or some other form of traffic control. So the route would stay open, but that bridge would close.
That's great, Kane. It's just that so many people it's just amazing how much interest is being taken in that bridge at the moment. And so I think people will be comforted to know that we're keeping a real close eye on it.
Yep, no problem. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tito.
Thank you. I'm really interested around the plan B, if anything does happen, around the communities that actually utilise that. I'm thinking of our school kids, our families, the recreational parts of the community as well. And if we are to do something, we should actually be informing them now what's happening. You know, if there's a lot of interest around it, we've also got to look at the risk management of it as well.
Thank you. Any comment on that, David or Kane?
Oh, well, again, we would, the plan is to go to 1 lane, turn that bridge into a stop-go 1 lane. There will still be footpath access there. We're hoping not to have to do that, but certainly there is some planning around that. And ultimately, when we do this repair work, we will be consulting with the community once we understand the timing and disruption it's going to cause. But yeah, that bridge will be a 1-lane bridge while the new bridge is constructed. Kane, did you want to add anything to that?
No, that's completely right, David. Yeah, we need to obviously deconstruct the bridge and build a new bridge there as well. So that option of 1 lane will need to occur more than likely.
Just to add, David's got a flat battery, so he's joined me from next door.
We'll go to Councillor Ryan and then Councillor Nelson and then Gary. Sandy?
And following up from that, there's a sign on the corner of Colombo Road where no trucks. Is there no trucks because you're wanting to limit the weight over the bridge? Or should we be limiting the weight over the bridge? And is there no trucks because you're trying to not let them divert themselves down that way rather than using State Highway 2? Two questions.
First question is, the bridge is already restricted to 30, less than 44 tonne anyway. It's not full weighted, so it's a restricted bridge anyway. What we've done is we've installed a sign there to keep traffic off it and try and minimise the amount of damage from the heavies. So it's asking trucks to take the alternative route along via State Highway.
Just with the audio too, Kane, it keeps coming and going a wee bit, so I don't know if you're moving
Sorry,
your head.
I wasn't expecting to talk. I'm just gonna.
Councillor Nelson?
Just a comment around the bridge. Thanks, Chair. It's currently one lane here at the moment on Colombo Road quite often, and it hasn't actually been that much of a big deal. The traffic flows pretty freely. I know it will be busier next week when school opens up, but even then, when it's been one lane at the past, it hasn't been that much of an issue. And it was a relief. I think David mentioned it last time that the bridge is actually two bridges. So I don't see it being a massive, having a huge impact if it does come to that, for the reassurance of the community.
Thank you, Councillor Kafel. Then Tito.
Yeah, one of the things, just getting back to Tim's earlier question regarding the Civic Centre, David, you said if the land purchase falls through, we've got a number of other options. Can you tell us what those other options are?
Yeah, so if you recall, we had discussions about 12 months ago of different sites. So there is a information out there on potential different sites that the council's considered. Now, we're not, the resolution at the time was, this is the preferred site was the one that we were going to pursue. Now, if that preferred site doesn't, if we can't secure that for whatever reason, we will have to come back and revisit those options. So that's the second decision that will have to come back to the council. However, again, we're following the instructions that we've been given as with this preferred site and seeing if we can make the preferred site work. If not, we'll be back and talking about options, and then we can talk then.
Thank you.
Tito?
Yeah, kia ora. One of the concerns I actually do have is if we have an outbreak within our community, you know, Masterton Medical, there's only one entrance into that place. And, you know, this is something that needs to be, I think, addressed around the traffic control that's going to be required if they're doing testing, you know, in cars. You know, with our first case, there was that one day of a full load of people, you know, in their cars waiting to get tested. Then we've got foot traffic. We've got. I'm just bringing up. This is going to be a bit of a concern if we have an outbreak, and this is listed as, you know, Masterton Medical is listed as a testing station that we. You know, that we have some measures in place, or even just a discussion with the DHB or Tuora, you know, with the medical centre themselves about what that impact's going to be. Because even with the bridge being out or one lane, there'd be further traffic coming up, and there could be, you know, further risk to any of those children, you know, that are within the school. So I just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, as I said, the bridge has actually been closed recently, if you've been down there. We didn't have any major issues there. It is something to be aware of, but again, if we need to repair this bridge, we do need to look at traffic management in that area. So
yeah, I'm not saying that it's about the bridge at this stage, it's about the impact. If we do have a community case or cases, albeit whatever variant it is for COVID, that we need to be understanding what that traffic and the impacts are in that area.
Yep.
I'll go to Councillor Holmes and then Councillor Nixon.
There's two entrances to Marsden Medical. You can drive straight through and come out at Blair Street, and it has been open for several weeks now.
Thanks, David. Tina. You're on mute. Oh, yeah.
I'm not sure whether David Hopman will be able to help me here, but just in relation to the Civic Centre, can you recall how many councillors voted for the Civic Centre to be sited in the northern part of town?
I believe it was 8. It was 9. 9. Sorry, 9. 9.
Thanks for that.
Okay.
Councillor Caffel, you've got your hand up still. Is there a question you want to ask?
No, sorry.
You're just waving, are you?
I'm just waving. Yeah, I'm just so happy.
Yeah. Councillor Nelson?
Just my belief that it's really important that councils have the ability to change their minds when new evidence comes to light in response to Councillor Nixon's comment.
Councillor Peterson? Can't hear you, Chris. Chris, you're on mute.
Yes, yeah, sorry, I should have had the mute button ready. Just in response to Tina's comment too, just it all depends what you mean by in the northern part of town.
Thank you. Are there any more questions of the infrastructure report? No, well, I'll move the recommendation in the report. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Nelson? Raise your right hand. All those in favour? Against? Thank you very much. I'll call the meeting to a close at 2. Oh.
Hang on, Rebecca, I've got a question, please.
Yep.
Page 327. Well, I know it was just for reading, but we need to have a bigger discussion about where we're going with the MBA draft legislation, future management systems in the national and built environment. We need, because this is very heavy reading, there's a lot in it, and we need to discuss it because it really does affect us. So I'm urging that we have a full day on it, or half a day or something on it at some stage.
Your Worship?
Yeah, so
I did raise that, David, earlier in the meeting, and I think the staff will look to do that.
Yep.
Okay, on that note, thank you very much, everybody. And I'll call the meeting closed, and it's 3 o'clock. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Bex.